Shalom, shalom. This is Brother Amawam Rakar, back with another lesson, giving all praises, honor and glory to Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, B'Hashem Rakar. As always, double honor to the apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone, who rule well, and peace, blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. So I'm a little under the weather, so I'm going to try and get some work done, but Slacker, there might be a little bit shorter than usual, but let's just see how it goes in the spirit anyway. I wanted to go into briefly the brotherhood, man, and the importance of it. It's like I feel I don't want to say this. I'm not going to say how I was going to say it. What I will say is that there is an importance to the brotherhood. There's importance, of the men that are around you, man. A lot of us have come up in this thing, nearly a decade or so or more, with the same men around us, and it's important for you to know that. It's important to know that it's important that these men around you're treating each other correctly, man, and you gotta know the men around you. How you gonna have men around you? You're on the street, you're watching each other's backs, you're bringing out the precepts, you're in the spirit together, and you don't know these men. You have to know your brothers, man. Not only are we brothers, we're friends. There was a time, and I'll say it. This is personal. There was a time where where I might turn up. Or brothers in the early stages, brothers would turn up. We chop it up at the camp and that, and then we go our separate ways, man. And we wouldn't talk, or we wouldn't see each other to the next weekend, But now through the years, brothers talk all the time. You have your little message chat groups and all of that. Brothers do shows together. Brothers link up in the week. Brothers go out and eat together. Maybe drink a little yarn together. So all of that, it's important. It builds the brotherhood, man. It builds the trust and the love that we're supposed to have amongst one another. This ain't in the first stages, you gather together, man. Why? Because you all, believe in the same thing. But over time, you still believe in the same thing, but then it becomes more personal. We can all say in the early stages that we love the men around us because we're commanded to do so. Especially the men, because those men are doing the work, such as yourself, and they're doing it in truth and sincerity. So, that's where that spiritual love comes in. But over time, you get to know brothers, man. You're supposed to get to know brothers. Is the point I'm making. It's like if I'm kind of beating around the bush, but let me just look at the scriptures, man. This isn't going to be a long one, but brothers need to brothers, I'm not talking about brothers in my camp, but if there's anyone out there in the camps or whatever that's not doing things outside of camp, man, come on, what are you doing? Like, brothers link up, man. Brothers break bread, brothers drink wine together, laugh and joke together, talk together, what I mean. Brothers have cried together. I'll say that too. So let's read. This is Psalms 133:1. It says a song of degrees of David. It says, "Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity." And that's across the board, man. The pleasantry comes with the company you're keeping, as well as why you're keeping the company. Why are we keeping the company? Because we all believe in Yahweh B'Hashem Yahushai, in the truth. We all want to bring about, the return of Yahweh Shai spiritually, man. This is what we're doing this for. To bring about the prophecies, man, through the Spirit. Not that we have control over that, but we doing our part, right? To call that to the elect. Once the elect are sealed, that's when it's really going to start kicking off, man. We always say the scripture, well, not we always say, the scripture says work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Doesn't mean that you're on your, that's the funny thing about this truth, because you are on your own and you're not at the same time. We can all join up together and we can all preach and teach, but at the end of the day, are we going to be together when the shit goes down? Maybe, maybe not. We'll never know until the time comes, man. Alright? It says, it is like the precious ointment upon the head that ran down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard that went down to the skirts of his garments, as the dew of Hermon, and as the dew that descended upon the mountains of Zion. For there the Lord commanded the blessing, even life forevermore. So we're commanded, man. We're commanded to well, let's get it, man. I'm going to read this from 17. Leviticus 19 and 17, it says, Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. You can take that in your, in your feelings and in your mind, man. You're not supposed to have any hatred towards your brother, man. Alright? You're supposed to, any problems you have, you're supposed to start to basically deal with that, man. It says, and thou shalt not in any wise rebuke thy neighbour, and not suffer sin upon him. Thou shalt not avenge, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. I am the Lord. Let's see what that word children is. You see, so really, and that's the first one there, son. So it's talking it, because remember, this truth is this is for the men of Israel, man, for the elect. The elect are men, right? This is talking to the men here. So really, that should say sons. Where was that? It should say, nor bear any grudge against the sons of thy people, but thou shalt love thy neighbour as thyself. I am the Lord Yahweh, B'Hashem Yahushai. It says, ye shall keep my statutes. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with. No, it's like, where am I going with that? Yeah, I've made the point. I've made the point there. I've made the point. The scriptures made the point. You love thy neighbour as thyself, man. So you're supposed to treat, your brother, correctly, man. There's laws against it, man. You're supposed to chop things up with brothers, man. Make sure you settle disputes. You can't be going out, you can't have men in the camp that are, basically at odds with one another, and standing there talking righteously, but they're not behaving righteously, man, because secretly. And I'm not. This isn't just. I have to put a disclaimer. I'm not talking about anyone in particular here. I'm not talking about anyone. Let's just say that. I'm just, the Spirit is on me to talk about the brotherhood, man. Because that kind of thing, that Spirit's been around in a minute, the Spirit of the brotherhood, man, because things are getting deeper out here, and we got to come closer together, man. Brothers have been through stuff, man, together, and that in itself can strengthen your bond, Matthew 25:22, it says, "But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause," and especially without a cause, man, you can be angry with a man, but you're supposed to deal with that accordingly, right? We can get angry sometimes, man. It says that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment, and whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council, but whosoever shall say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire. And I need to just get a word here. And forgive me, I should have played the other one.
Strong's G 4469. Harakah. Harakah. Thayer's Lexicon, related entry. Harakah. Harakah.
So it means it's a term of reproach. Empty-headed man. Alright? So basically you're dissing your brother, man. Verse 23, it says, "Therefore, if thou bring thy gift to the altar, and there rememberest that thy brother have aught against thee, leave there thy gift before the altar, and go thy way. First be reconciled to thy brother, and then come and offer thy gift." Right. So deal with things, man. Before you can't be, you're sullying things. If you, let's just say, you have some sort of disagreement with a brother, and you're all the while, you're at camp and you're teaching or whatever. All the while you're in your mind, the man next to you, or man, 2 men or 3 men down from you, you got beef with, man. I mean, I'm not saying like beef like as in, and you want to fight, but sometimes brothers have disagreements, right? You can't be doing that, man. That has to be cleared up. So basically the point I'm trying to make from that is, men have to talk. We talk in this thing. Like I always say this in the world. It's like, I'm not the type of man that will have beef with another man, and you're not talking, and you like women do, for weeks. And you just deal with it, man. You deal with the issue. You deal with the issue, and you either make amends or you part ways, man. You just don't deal with that, man, if it's untenable. But you don't act, you go around whispering and side-eyeing and all that stuff, talking shit behind another man's back. And I'll say again, this is not directed at anyone. This is just a lesson on a topic. That's it. So yeah, man, it's about the love for the brotherhood, man. It's important, man. That's why, later on in the years, we've we've gone out, we've done things together, man, to strengthen the bond, man. It's important. You want to be able to be comfortable. Not every man has the same relationship with another man in his truth, man. There's all different types of spirits, man. And that's a fact. You might get on with a brother, not get on with it, you might be closer, let's say like that. You might be closer with another brother more than you are with another brother, man. There's nothing wrong with that. And if you feel the way because you see a man getting on with a brother more than he gets on with you, then you got problems, man. Some brothers have things in common. It's just as simple as that. I think I'm in the wrong place. I'm not gonna make this too long anyway, man. But let's see if I was in the wrong place. But you have to forgive my my energy. It's a bit low. Yeah. Bear with me, I'm just looking for it. Where that rains. Oh, yeah. This is Sirach 6:14. It says, "A faithful friend is a strong defense, and he that hath found such an one hath found a treasure." So I'll speak for myself, man. The men that are surrounding me, the men that I've come up in this thing, the men that I go out and teach with and meet up with or whatever, I trust and love these men wholeheartedly, and I can wholeheartedly say I've never looked upon them, as anything but brothers, man. And that's just, I have to thank Yahweh Shem Shai for that. It ain't nothing to, it ain't me that did that. It's just that the Lord is, surrounded me with good men, as good as we can be in this. And I say that because, obviously none of us are perfect. I don't mean that to dismiss the men around me. Scripture says none are good men, so I have to be real. And that doesn't mean that they're not good men. It just means that we're not perfect men. The scriptures say, and I'll prove it with what the scripture says. The scripture says that our righteousness is as filthy rags. So as much as we try to be righteous, we're never going to be righteous enough on this side. That's all I mean. Before anyone gets twisted up, man. Oh, you said that the brothers, and you're saying that they're... No, man. Ecclesiastes 4:9 says, "Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he hath not another to help him up." Now we've had, I don't call them what they are, man, reprobates, man, that have been in this thing, and that have left to do things by themselves, man. That's basically against the scriptures, man. First and foremost, you're not bearing any fruit, and secondly, who's going to be there to lift you up when you fall, man? It says, verse 11 says, "Again, if two lie together, then can they have heat? But how can one be warm alone? Yeah, and if one prevail against him, two shall withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. So the more the merrier, man. You know, the more the merrier. I'm just gonna get a couple more because, you know, I'm gonna drag this out, man. It's just a read. I like to do this topic once in a while, you know. You look back on my videos, you'll see videos about this topic, man. It's important. Yes, and here's what I said, man. It's a commandment, right? This is John 15:12. It says, "This is my commandment, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Ye are my friends, if you do whatsoever I command you." Right? So, you know, are you prepared? Are you prepared to do that? You know, we can all talk and talk and talk, man, but when the shit hits the fan, are you prepared to do that, man? That's why building up that trust and that love within the brotherhood is important. So you're not just talking out your ass, man. What you're talking is real, you know. You can't have that. You cannot have that same. You can't talk that talk for a man you don't barely know. You can't do that. I'll just say it like that. You can't do that. The more you know a person, the more you get to know a person, the more you like a person, the more time you spend over the years with a person, understand the person, man. You know. That brotherly love is what I'm talking about. Is important. Is you prepared to do things for these men that are around you, whether it be, you know, help them, you know, when they're sick, you know, when they got no money, you know, just everything, man. You know, we take care of each other in this thing, man. 100%. And I'll say it like this: when it comes to that, we don't fuck around, man. We take care of each other, and things are dealt with. You know, when they need to be dealt with, man. Because we have to be moving according to the precepts, according to the scriptures, man. So it says, "Henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you." Right? So Yahweh Shai, man, saying, calling you his friends, man. Right? It says, "Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you and ordained you that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye ask of the Father in my name, he may give it to you." He may give it you, so like I don't want to add to the prison. It says, "These things I command you, that ye love one another." See that though? It says, "Greater love have no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends," man. That's you know, that's not a simple thing to do, man. And the situation could easily arise. Galatians 6:10 says, "As we have therefore opportunity, let us do good unto all men, especially unto them who are of the household of faith." So treat each other right, man. You know, there's been some stories over the years about certain men, certain men in other camps or whatever, doing dirty, man, doing their brothers dirty. How could you, man? You know, the scripture talks about touching the little ones, man. You know what you do? You're just basically asking for your demise when you're messing with the men of the Lord like that. And what happens to these men, man? They fall away. They try go out and do their own thing, and then they just fade into obscurity, man. And they go back into the world, and they're just awaiting their destruction. So the point I'm really trying to make is that this is very much important in this ministry, man. You know, I might have gone around the houses a little bit. I'm not on my usual, up to my usual standard today, I have to admit. You know, I'm just trying to do what I can do, and Lord, when it'll be edifying, man. But you know, this is the point I'm making. Is this is important. The brotherhood is important. It's not a meet-up thing. You go out and you meet up with brothers and you do the thing, and then you go away and that's it. You don't talk to them, and then you meet up again in the week and you act like, yeah, you know, we're brothers and we're brothers and we'll die for each other. You can't say that, man. How can you say you're gonna die for a man that you don't barely even know? This is Matthew 22:37. It says, Yahushua said unto him, no, it's like it. Let me read from the 34. It says, but when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him, and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy power with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first great commandment. And the second is like unto it, that thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. You know, and people in the world love to use that, talking about, you know, all the other nations. You know, the JC's, I don't even like saying the name. JC says we should love our neighbors. He ain't talking about anyone outside of Israel, and this is really ain't even talking about anyone outside of the truth. It's talking about the elect, man. Right? On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets. You know? Anyway, for sake of not rambling on, I'm going to cut the lesson here. Lord willing, it was edifying, man. You know, just, you know, if you're in a camp and you don't know the men next to you, man, I can tell you the characteristics and what the brothers around me are into, what they like, man. You know, we can chop it up and we can have conversations. I make it a mission to try and, you know, to talk to and deal with all the brothers around me accordingly, as, you know, as according to their spirits, man. You know, I don't treat every man the same, because they ain't the same. Alright, anyway, Lord willing, it's edifying. Shalom to the next one.